Good morning. Welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor with you, and these are this morning's headlines. G7 summit concludes in France. In his meeting with US President Donald Trump, Prime Minister Narendra Modi asserts no third-party intervention is needed on Jammu and Kashmir. Trump agrees that India and Pakistan are best equipped to resolve every issue bilaterally. Minority Affairs Ministry's team on Kashmir visit from today to identify areas to implement central projects. State administration assures local situation is fast nearing normalcy with sufficient availability of essential commodities, including medicines. RBI board accepts recommendations by high-level panel headed by its former governor Bimal Jalan, agrees to transfer 1.76 lakh crore rupees in dividend and surplus reserves to the government. India is now world leader in renewable energy with increased investments and clean energy installations. Ranks second after Chile in climate scope report by Bloomberg NEF, moves 3 spots from the 5th position in 2018. And Finance Ministry extends 30th of August GST annual return filing deadline by 3 months. Taxpayers can now file returns till 30th of November. Decision taken over taxpayers' complaints over facing technical glitches. The top story this morning, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has returned to India after his 3-nation visit to France, Bahrain and the UAE and the G7 summit in France. He also took part in the recently concluded G7 summit in France as well, in the sessions on digital transformation and climate change, to name a few. In a Twitter message, MEA spokesperson Ravish Kumar said that the Prime Minister's 3-nation visit deepened India's relations with the friends and projected out a voice on the global stage. In the G7 summit, Prime Minister Modi highlighted India's efforts in putting digital technology to use to fight social inequalities through empowerment and inclusion. And difference of understanding between India and USA on Jammu and Kashmir is over now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has categorically made it clear to US President Donald Trump that there is no scope for any intervention on Kashmir and it will remain a bilateral matter between India and Pakistan for all purposes. But Prime Minister Narendra Modi suggested that India and Pakistan should work together to tackle the challenges of poverty as both was there in the countries in the past.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday had 2 rounds of extensive talks with US President Donald Trump in the French seaside resort town of Biarritz. Both leaders later addressed a media conference and fielded the media's questions on the sidelines of the G7 meeting. Prime Minister Modi made it a point to categorically state that no other country needed to be worried about Jammu and Kashmir, which is just a bilateral issue between India and Pakistan.
भारत और पाकिस्तान के सारे इश्यूज बायलैटरल है और इसलिए हम दुनिया के किसी भी देश को इनके लिए कष्ट नहीं देते हैं और मुझे विश्वास है कि भारत और पाकिस्तान जो 1947 के पहले एक ही थे, हम मिलजुल करके हमारी समस्याओं पर चर्चा भी कर सकते हैं और समाधान भी कर सकते हैं.
The talks came against the backdrop of Trump making references to mediation on the issue of Jammu and Kashmir. However, Prime Minister Modi convinced the US President that both India and Pakistan needed to work together on issues like poverty eradication and creating better opportunities for people of both countries.
भारत और पाकिस्तान के बीच कई बायलैटरल इश्यूज हैं और पाकिस्तान के प्रधानमंत्री के चुनाव के बाद जब मैंने उनको टेलीफोन किया था तब मैंने उनसे कहा है हम दोनों देश मिलकर के गरीबी के खिलाफ लड़ें, हमारी असुविधाओं के खिलाफ लड़ें और हम मिल कर के दोनों देश की आवाम की भलाई के लिए काम करें। ये संदेश मैंने पाकिस्तान के प्रधानमंत्री जी को भी दिया है और राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप से भी हमेशा हमारे इस बायलैटरल संबंधों के संबंध में बात होती रहती है।
Prime Minister Modi and US President Trump also had an in-depth review of the global situation. The strategic unity between the two countries was very evident from their body language too.
Thank you very much. It's great to be with Prime Minister Modi of India, incredible country, and he's an incredible man. Just had a tremendous election victory, and he really is a man who's loved and respected in this country. We're talking about trade, we're talking about military, we're talking about many different things, and we've had some great discussions. We were together last night for dinner, and I learned a lot about India. Fascinating place, beautiful place, and it's an honor to be with you.
भारत का और अमेरिका का आर्थिक क्षेत्र में, व्यापार के क्षेत्र में लगातार बातचीत हो रही है और कई विषयों में हम अमेरिका के सुझावों का स्वागत करते हैं और मिलजुल करके ट्रेड के क्षेत्र में आगे बढ़ने की दिशा में हम प्रयास कर रहे हैं।
Trade and commerce figured significantly in the talks between the two leaders, with both agreeing to remove obstacles in trade to provide a strategic depth to bilateral ties. Energy cooperation was also a major component of the talks. Foreign Secretary Vijay Gokhale said India's businesses will be able to invest in energy sectors of America.
Subsequent to that, there was a 40-minute meeting, and it was principally focused on issues of trade and energy. The Prime Minister spoke of the importance of energy imports from the United States. He referred to the fact that $4 billion worth of imports were already in the pipeline and that we expected to step it up. The objective there is twofold. One, to see how we can import more energy from the United States, and the second is how we can invest in the energy sector in the United States, or rather how Indian companies can invest in the energy sector in the United States. So essentially, the two leaders have agreed that preferably before Prime Minister's visit to Washington, there will be an interaction between the trade ministers at which we will discuss the whole range of trade issues. So essentially, that was the gist of the discussion. It was a very warm meeting, very positive meeting. It followed the discussions that Prime Minister had with President Trump on the telephone the week before.
In a setback to Pakistan, US President Donald Trump said India had an important role in establishing peace in Afghanistan. A notable feature of the talks was the bonhomie between the two leaders, who cracked jokes in a show of rare personal chemistry with each other. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And at the G7 summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended the dedicated session on climate change, underlining India's contribution to address issues of reducing biodiversity, climate change, water stress and ocean pollution. The Prime Minister highlighted India's large-scale efforts towards eliminating single-use plastic, conserving water, harnessing solar energy and protecting the flora and fauna for a sustainable future. He also led the dedicated session on digital transformation, where he highlighted India's efforts in putting digital technology to fight social inequalities through empowerment and inclusion. And earlier in the day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also held one-on-one talks with the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, the President of Senegal, and United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on the sidelines of the summit. On to some other news now. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar will be in Moscow for a two-day visit beginning today. And during the visit, he will hold talks with the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov to further advance bilateral cooperation. The visit comes even just ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Russia in the first week of September, where he is going to participate in the Eastern Economic Forum. And back home, a team of Minority Affairs Ministry will be on a 2-day visit to Kashmir from today to identify the areas to implement the central government's development projects. Union Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi said that the team will identify areas to implement centrally sponsored developmental projects after the provisions of Article 370 were abrogated. Naqvi also said that the team will also visit Jammu and Ladakh regions at a later date. The team will assess the need of opening schools, colleges, skill development centers, hospitals and other facilities for the development of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. The team will also prepare a comprehensive report on the possibilities of social economic developmental projects in the regions. And the Jammu and Kashmir administration said that there is no shortage of medicines in Kashmir and that drugs worth around 32 crore rupees have been supplied to the valley from 20th of July to 23rd of August. On to some other news, the BJP plans a month-long program to highlight the significance of the government's decision to nullify Article 370 and Article 35A. The government ministers, MPs and office bearers will hold public meetings in 35 big cities and 370 smaller towns of the country. And the towns in Kashmir that have been chosen for the program are Srinagar, Anantnag, Baramulla and Sopore. In Breakfast News, time for a very short break. We'll be right back with more news. Stay tuned.
On this edition of India's World, we will analyze India's ties with the Baltic states.
This is also the outreach policy that the current Modi government has utilized, that not only focusing on large countries, on big countries with whom we have already vibrant and dynamic relations, but also reaching out to all countries that are there, whether big, small.
So we can think about certain areas in cultural diplomacy where we can think of engagement, relationships, enhancing it to the next level.
The ISA is an initiative which was jointly done by our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, and the French leader Macron. And we have seen that climate change is a real problem to the world today. So I think one, it's an excellent platform because this is an initiative which has been taken by our own Prime Minister. And this also puts India in a leadership position.
Welcome back after the break. The Reserve Bank of India has decided to transfer 1.76 lakh crore rupees in dividend and surplus reserve to the government. Now, this follows the RBI board accepting the recommendations of a high-level panel headed by its former governor, Bimal Jalan, on the transfer of excess reserves to the government. In the statement, the central bank said that its board has decided to transfer a sum of 1.76 crore rupees to the government, comprising 1.23 crore rupees of surplus for the year 2018-19 and 52,637 crore rupees of excess provisions identified as per the revised economic capital framework. And the Finance Ministry on Monday said that the last date for filing of the annual GST returns has been extended by 3 months to 30th of November. The Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs said in a statement that the date has been extended as the taxpayers were facing technical problems in furnishing the returns. Earlier, the GST taxpayers were to file their required returns by 31st of August. Remember, GSTR 9 is an annual return to be filed yearly by the taxpayers registered under the Goods and Services Tax, and the GSTR 9C is filed by those whose annual turnover exceeds 2 crore rupees. And in a major setback to former Union Minister P. Chidambaram, the Supreme Court on Monday refused to entertain a plea challenging the dismissal of its anticipatory bail in a corruption case lodged by the CBI in the INX media case. The apex court asked Chidambaram to move a regular bail before the appropriate court, saying that his petition became infructuous since he had been arrested on 21st of August. Meanwhile, the special CBI court also extended his CBI remand by 4 more days in relation to the INX media case. He will now be produced before the court on 30th of August. And on to the other big story that we are tracking. Well, developing nations are now driving the world's gradual shift towards renewable energy, and India has become one of the leaders of this pack. With increased investments and clean energy installations, as well as the world's largest renewables auction market, India ranks second after Chile in the 2018 Climate Scope report by energy researcher Bloomberg NEF. The organization studied over 80 indicators such as clean energy policies, power sector structures, emissions, and installed capacities for 103 countries around the world. Now, India's second position represents a climb of 3 spots from the 5th position that it had held last year. And in comparison, China ranked 7th, down from the top position last year. The Narendra Modi government has set an ambitious goal of reaching 175 GW of clean energy generation by March 2022. Bloomberg NEF's research shows that in June 2018, renewables accounted for 71 GW of India's installed generating capacity. And Health Minister Dr. Harsh Vardhan has stressed on the need for a sub-department of health in all the ministries, as the Health Ministry signed an MOU with the Social Justice and Empowerment Ministry for enhanced HIV/AIDS research. He said that the impact of its programs has been significant, with more than 80% decline in the estimated new infections from the peak of epidemic in 1995. Similarly, estimated AIDS-related deaths declined by 71% since its peak in 2005. According to the UN AIDS 2018 report, the global average for decline in new infections and AIDS-related deaths from the peak has been 47% and 51% respectively. He further said that the government is fully committed for meeting all the set goals to eliminate HIV/AIDS by 2030. And the government will provide Wi-Fi in all the villages through GramNet with 10 Mbps to 100 Mbps speed. Delivering a keynote address at the 36th Foundation Day celebrations of C. MOS for Communications and IT, Sanjay Dhore gave this information. The minister launched C.'s latest innovations and said that CSAT-5 technology of C. will empower people, especially in the rural areas and remote areas, as telephone and Wi-Fi facilities will be available in all the corners of the country on any mobile phone.
C. empowered the rural India by taking telephones in 80s through RAXes, and now it is taking data services to every Gram Panchayat with its GPON technology under the ambitious BharatNet project, thus empowering and strengthening the Gram Panchayats who are celebrating 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi this year.
And Chandrayaan-2, which is currently orbiting the moon, has captured some more images of the lunar surface, showing several craters. Showing the pictures, ISRO said in a statement that the photographs captured by the lunar spacecraft are those of some craters, many of which have been named after great scientists, astronomers and physicists. Like a crater Mitra has been named after Professor Sisir Kumar Mitra, an Indian physicist and Padma Bhushan recipient known for his pioneering work in the field of ionosphere and radio physics. These pictures of the lunar surface were taken on 23rd of August by the Terrain Mapping Camera 2 of Chandrayaan-2 from an altitude of about 4,375 kilometers. The first picture of the moon, remember, captured by Chandrayaan-2 was released by ISRO on 22nd of August. And robots will now serve citizens in Bengaluru at the city's first robot restaurant. With a futuristic space-like ambience, one robot will usher and 5 others will serve the meals. Here is a special report on a restaurant that takes you to the future.
Robot Restaurant is located in the upmarket high street in Bengaluru. The Android-based robot first greets diners, guides them to their table, and in their subsequent visits will also greet them by their names, enabled with its built-in facial recognition technology. The aisles of the restaurant are extra spacious to allow free movement of the robots. The front of the restaurant sports a video wall that offers a cockpit view of outer space. To add on to the futuristic experience, soups and starters are served on mini trains that roll on mini tracks along the tables.
We have come here for the first time. This is a new experience for us where we can see robots serving for us, and there is another new technology where the trains will be coming and we can place order on the tab here. You can see all those dishes here, menus here, and you can place order here, and within 2 minutes of time you can get served from the robots there. Yeah, very nice experience, and I request all the peoples and the new generations to keep coming here often and spread the love. Yeah.
Each table is equipped with a digital tablet through which any dish can be selected and ordered. Once the food is prepared, a robot is assigned to deliver the food to the table. Every table has a digital tablet, and the customer just has to pick and choose, order and wait for the turn. Once the food is ready, the kitchen assigns a robot for dispatch. The staff at the restaurant have been specially trained to handle the robots in case of malfunction.
So this is our first robot-themed restaurant in Bangalore, and it's a 4th venture for us. So once you enter the restaurant, we are allocated the table for you. So if your table number is, for example, I am saying its table number is 12 means, the table 12 will be given a place for you. So you have to come to your table. There is a one tab will be placed in your table. So in the table, the start order button will be there. So in the start order button, if you click, that all the menus will be given in the tab itself.
The first robo-restaurant was launched in 2017 in Chennai, and now Bengaluru is enjoying a high-tech dining experience.
Zoe, Alice and Arya are interactive and are also programmed to sing birthday wishes for you on your birthday. The robot restaurant is another example of how young India is treading on the digital paths. Reporting from Bengaluru with camera person Jitendra Negi and Om Prakash, I'm Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
And on to the top international focus now. Hundreds of new fires have flared up in the Amazon in Brazil on Monday, even as the military aircraft dumped water over hard-hit areas, and the G7 nations pledged to help combat the fires. The Brazilian government, however, has rejected a G7 aid of €20 million to fight Amazon fires, as reported by the news agency AFP. Smoke-choked Port Velho city as fires raged in the northwestern state of Rondônia, where the firefighting efforts have been concentrated. While there is a growing global uproar and a diplomatic spat between France and Brazil. On Monday, 2 C-130 Hercules aircrafts carrying thousands of liters of water began dousing fires, devouring chunks of the world's largest rainforest, which is seen as crucial to keep climate change in check. Experts say that increased land clearing during the months of dry season to make way for crops or grazing has aggravated the problem this year. And PV Sindhu, the first ever Indian badminton player to win the BWF World Championship, has returned to New Delhi. A large number of sports lovers were present to welcome Sindhu at the Indira Gandhi International Airport in New Delhi. Sindhu said that I hope that I will win the same medal for the country in the future as well. In the final of the women's singles of the World Championship, remember PV Sindhu easily won the gold medal by defeating Japan's Nozomi Okuhara 21-7, 21-7.
Have brought me till here, and I think definitely I will work more hard and get many more medals for the country. Each tournament is a different experience, and a wonderful experience, I must say. And yeah, of course, someone asked me that what are your next targets, whether if it's Olympics, but I think it's a very short-term goals, and for me right now it's some of the super series because it's a qualification for the Olympics, and it's just step by step, and definitely my ultimate aim would be Tokyo 2020.
And with that, we have come to the end of this news bulletin. Take a look at today's weather forecast as I take your leave. Thanks so much for watching.